First, I will create a letter-sized document, and I'm going to change its orientation to horizontal or landscape, and I'll start working with pixels, okay? Once you have that, you have to pick a word. For this tutorial, I'm going to write hello, just 5 letters, and I am going to press Shift and Alt to make it bigger, and then in my properties panel I'm going to choose a bold font, and for that I'll work with Arial Black. Let me resize it a little bit more, and I'm going to place it there in the center of my document. Okay, now before we move on, it's very important that we set our document with RGB color mode so we can have really bright colors. To do that, we go to File and then Document Color Mode and click where it says RGB. I want to work with a larger area than my artboard, so for that I'm going to go to View and then click where it says Hide Artboards, or the shortcut Shift Command H. My artboard, it's still there. I just created a bigger surface to work with, so I don't have the boundaries there limiting me. Next, I am going to change the color of my text. I'll go to the field properties and choose this kind of gray color, okay? It's the one that it's right on top, the blue color from this library. After that, I am going to go to the effect options and the 3D settings that I have in here. This is what makes the magic. I'll click where it says extrude and bevel, and you can see we have all these options available to work with. Since we're working with isometric text, then I'm going to go here. Let me click in fewer options so that you don't get distracted. We're going to see that later on. I'm going to go to the position, and we have all these options in here which you can experiment with. But the one that we'll be using is isometric top. These are my options to create as isometric text. So I'm going to click in here so I can have that effect. And then I'm going to leave all these settings as they are, 45 degrees and 35 degrees, minus 30 degrees. If you don't have them like that, you can change them. And the extrude depth at 50 points, okay? And then we are going to click OK. I want to set that 3D that I just made. To do that, I'm going to go to Object and then click where it says Expand Appearance. And what this option does is that creates curves. My text converts it to curves, and also the 3D or the extrude and bevel options that it created. Now that I have all those lines, all those paths, what I'm going to do is ungroup them. So I'm going to do right click on group, or you can go to the properties panel and click on group. We have to ungroup several times until we get all these letters to be separated, okay? So just click on group several times until you have them like that, all these parts of the 3D options separated. Now that we have all the pieces separated, it will allow us to customize each one of them. Then what I'm going to do is that I will put a background for my text before I pick my colors. To do that, I'm going to go to the shapes. I'm going to grab a rectangle tool, and I'm going to create a rectangle that covers all my text, and I will send it to the back. I want a purple background. You know I love purple, so I'm going to choose a default swatch that we have in there, and then I am going to lock this object, just this rectangle, by going to Object, Lock, Selection, okay, or Command 2. Now that I created my background, I'm going to paint the front faces of all my letters together. I want them to be the same color, so I'm going to zoom in, click in the first one, and then press Shift to keep adding these front faces to my selection. And then I'm going to add the color to this. I'm going to go to Fill, and I think I'll work with this pink, maybe a lighter pink. So I'll go to my color picker and find a lighter pink to work with. No, I think I like the other one best. Yeah, I'm going to work with that pink. Once I've painted all my the front faces of my letters, then I'm going to zoom in so that you can see what happens when the text is extruded to a 3D effect. As you can see, it creates kind of like a split of all the gradient in here. And I want this to be even and smooth. So we are going to unite this, okay? So I'm going to select all my shape because I didn't ungroup all the way until this was released. I'm going to select it, go to the Pathfinder and click where it says Unite. And then I'm going to find more of these shapes that are kind of split up and use the Pathfinder to unite them, okay? I think that's the only one. That happens mainly with when we have curved or rounded objects. Now we are going to continue adding color to our letters. But for this effect, I recommend you to pick one color for each face. That means, for example, all my frontal faces will have one color, and then all this dark gray that are facing left will have another color, and these light gray that are facing right will have another color, okay? So let's do that. Now that we've painted or filled our entire text, I'm going to create a selection around my entire text, and then I'm going to add a black stroke or apply a black stroke. So I'm going to go to the stroke properties and click in here, and I'll put around I think I'll go with 0.1. Yes, I want you to take a look at this. The edges of the stroke do that. So for us to change that, let's go to the stroke properties and pick a rounded joints and rounded caps, okay? So we can get rid of those things. In effects like this, a long shadow effect is a really popular feature that we must add so our text really stands out. So let's do that. First, we are going to select all the front faces. So I'm going to click in the first one, then press Shift to select them all. And then I'm going to go to Edit, Copy or Command C, and then Edit, Paste in front. So my selection is pasted right where it is. Okay, now I'm going to fill that selection with black. So I'm going to go to Fill, click in black, and I'm going to remove the stroke. Once that I filled it with black and remove the stroke, I am going to group this. So I can do right-click group or just click here in group in the properties panel. And I'm going to create a second copy. So I'm going to press Command Z or go to Object Copy, and after that we go to Edit, Paste in Place or Shift Command V. Now I have two copies. I am going to move this selection or nudging. Nudge means when you use the arrows of your keyboard to move an element, okay? So I'm going to use the arrows of my keyboard to move it. If it doesn't move, it's because maybe you don't have this snap option selected. So let's click on that one, click on the object, and then use your arrows to move your shadow. Now I'm going to blend this second group with the first one that I created. So I'm going to press Shift and click to add to my selection the other object. Then I'll go to Object, Blend, and Make. Once the blending is done, I'm going to go back to Object and Blend to open the blending options. I'm going to click here where it says Specified Steps, and I want a really smooth transition between these two. So I'm going to put 100 steps, okay? And then I'll click OK. If you look at this, you can now see how that shadow effect is happening. Blending to permanently be applied, we're going to go to Object and then click where it says Expand. and then this pop-up appears and we just click OK. As you can see, all of those levels from my blending, the 100 levels that we put, are individual now. So we have to create just one shape. We are going to go to the Pathfinder and click in the Unite button to make that happen. Once the shadow is created, or my entire object is united, I am going to send this backward several times until I send it completely to the background. I think I'm just going to click Send to Back. And then I am going to unlock my background. Let me go to my layers, find my background, and I will send this to the back so it's faster. Perfect. Now that you have your shadow in place, we are going to reduce the opacity. Maybe since my background is dark, I think I'll put 20%. Yeah, I think it looks okay like that. I really don't want a really strong shadow, just a kind of nice effect to it. I like that one. And to continue creating that pop art effect, what I'm going to do to finish this isometric style text is that I'm going to put a pattern in these blue faces of my letters. So to do that, I'll click in the first object, and then I'm going to go to my appearance panel. I'll click in the contents link, and it will take me to see the fill of my shape, which I can change, but I'm going to add a second fill layer. Then I want to create or add a pattern to it, but I don't want to create a new pattern. So I'm going to go to swatches, click in this 3-line menu, open swatch library, go to patterns, and then click where it says basic graphics and lines. You have the option to put lines or dots. It totally depends, up to you. Play with those, experiment with them, and the one that you like the best, go ahead. For this one, I click where it says lines. And now that I have my appearance panel there open, I'm going to click in this line so I can see the effect and how they are applied. I'll go with one. Yeah, I think I like that one. I don't want it to be super dark or the lines to be really thick. So I'll go to 40%. And then I'm going to do the same with the rest of my blue faces. This is how my text looks with the pattern that I've just put. Again, you can change it, you can put dots. Remember, we are creating like a pop art version of our work. This is a really cool way to create isometric text with the Extrude and Bevel tool, the 3D isometric option that Illustrator has, that really help us to create really cool 3D not just text, but objects as well. To finish our work, we just need to appear our artboard again. So let's go to View, Show Artboards, and let's just resize this shape we created for our background. I'm going to lock the layer so I can select the rest of my letters and place them in the center like that. Nudge them a little bit, and then you just put your name here, created by. I'm really excited to see what you come up with, your color combinations, the patterns you use. If you don't want your text to face left, you can change it to the right front. Go ahead, experiment with this, and I'm really looking forward to see your results. Thank you.